I'm so pleased to see CFPB, December, I think, 2020, you all have a final debt collection rule that goes into effect November 30th. So I'm really pleased because, CFPB was established to protect consumers, to protect our residents. I know there's been a lot of questions about the business sector in certain industries, but that's not why we created the CFPB. And so I hope we center on the residents and the consumers as we move forward in prioritizing them. Director, do you think all debt should be treated the same?
I think the answer is no.
Oh, good. Because nearly 20% of adults have one or more medical debt collections.
Yes.
Yeah, listed on their credit report. And 90% of bankruptcies in our country, Director, is due to medical debt. And did you know that at the height of the pandemic last year, the 3 largest healthcare insurance companies ranked in $10.8 billion in a single quarter, while nearly 20 million of our neighbors became unemployed. So, Director, I'm worried. I'm worried that the pandemic not only left my residents with emotional trauma, but economic distress that could forever alter their ability to thrive because we treat all debt the same. I'm sure you are familiar that the December 2020 rule allows for the debt collectors to submit a physical or electronic message to the consumer and wait, quote, reasonable period of time to receive a notice of undeliverability. And you're nodding your head because you know this is very concerning, especially because...
Baby yesterday, she said, well, we need to do something like...
So you know that these debt collectors are likely to increase their use of electronic communications to consumers. And so, Director, given that digital divide that we have in our country and been exposed, I think, during the pandemic, what steps is CFPB taking to implement this rule in a way that protects communities like mine?
Yeah, so I just have to share, Congresswoman, that what has happened to family balance sheets in many neighborhoods, it's been pretty devastating. And I think while there has been a recovery for many, many neighborhoods and households, they are still in deep debt from the struggles they faced. And so I am worried about them being permanently scarred by that. And I think if we want an equitable recovery, we're going to need to take a very close look at debt collection and credit reporting.
Yeah, and Director, you know this. Some of these emails end up in spam. Some of our folks are not, broadband internet is not reliable. I am just really increasingly worried because they are going to check it off and say, sent an electronic
Understood.
email. And so please, if you can follow up with my office on some of the steps you're going to take. In addition, you know that the rule would prohibit debt collectors from bringing or threatening to bring legal action to collect a time-barred debt. Very important here. However, debt collectors often try to deceive consumers in restarting the statute of limitations. The Center for Responsible Lending has argued that CFPB should go further and outright prohibit the revival of debt-barred debt. Director Chopra, will CFPB implement similar protections to prohibit the revival of time-barred debt in full? Because several states, as you probably know, enacted laws stating that the partial payments or other acknowledgement of debt would not revive the statute of limitations.
Yeah, I am worried that some of this debt is getting bought, sold,
That's right.
resold, and investment vehicles are trying to monetize it by squeezing them and collecting debt that is not owed anymore. So I want to take a look at the rule. The rule is going into effect, but as I understand, the rule does not create any sort of safe harbor for collecting time-barred debt.
Yeah, but we should work together to prohibit the revival.
Yes, I would be happy to do that.
Time-barred debt in full. I mean, again, more states are acknowledging it.
Yes.
I think we can do something much more
Especially
broad.
with respect to the renewal of statute of limitations.
That's right. Finally, a National Consumer Law Center has suggested CFPB's existing complaint database may not be adequate for tracking new complaints regarding electronic communication, such as receiving communication even after opting out or being able to read or open file attachments. Director Chopra, does the CFPB plan on adopting new debt collection complaint categories with regards to electronic communications following the December 2020 rule?
I don't think there's current plans, but I would like to explore that because that seems like a good, given those changes, we need to make sure that sometimes people have a piece of paper. We need to make sure they can provide that evidence.
Yeah, and thank you. And know this, I'm working hard with the chairwoman to ban medically necessary debt on people's credit report. I think that's going to help a tremendous deal, especially with the complaints that you get. But again, people's lives are forever altered of what debt gets on these credit reports that impact employment and housing. So thank you, and I yield.
If I may, Madam Chairwoman, just on the issue of medical debt on credit reports, there has been evidence in the past that it is completely not predictive of other performance. And I'm constantly worried that a patient is just feels coerced to pay while their insurance company and a hospital are in an endless doom loop. And we cannot with the credit reporting system cannot be a way to extort payments out of patients.